So I'm using this because it was retweeted by the glorious Rob Noor. So this is stuff that him and many other conservatives want people like me to see, and that's how it ended up in my feed. And this is a new angle of Alex Pretti, days before, about a week or two, January 13th. So we're talking about roughly 2 weeks before the shooting that ended up taking his life, when he was shot in the back on his knees after being taken to the ground by law enforcement, by federal agents, immigration agents in Minneapolis. This footage is interesting because I know it's going to be used a million times in the next few months when his name keeps getting brought up the most. Of course, Pretti will be mentioned like years and years from now, but when it comes to the immediate political impact, we're going to see this clip, I think, from the right, a whole lot. Let's watch the clip. This shows Pretti, identified as him, kicking the back of a vehicle where immigration officers are working, and yelling at the car. Now, mind you, the caption put here, and I'm using Nick Sorters also because, you know, he's a right-wing commentator. He was part of Tucker Carlson's gang and such. So we're showing their framing and how they're going to use it in the days to come. Video has surfaced of Alex Pretti spitting on and attacking federal agents in Minneapolis area on January 13th, 1 week before being shot during a scuffle. He describes it as a scuffle, which is, you know, I like at, this is beautiful, is because you can see the partisanship dripping off of the language. When it comes to him being brought to the floor, not throwing any punch or anything that we can see at law enforcement, or they pepper spray him, hit him with the pepper spray bottle, drag him to the floor, that's a scuffle. But spitting on a car, you have to put spitting on in capitalized letters, and my God, man. Or we just aim for all the dopamine sectors that confirm what we want to believe, and that's really it. That's what we are as human beings. It'll be our end. This guy was not a peaceful protester. He was a violent leftist militant. My God. Don't know if he's leftist. I have no clue if the dude votes Democrat, Republican, fucking... he's a leftist, he's a liberal, he's a leftist liberal, he's a leftist liberal mount. I don't know what he is, okay? We still don't know what he is. And I don't know how, even if he literally went and threw a cop into the sun, how that would make him necessarily a leftist. Like before, they used to go out there and like attempt, like, oh, see, he has this shirt, it says Bella Ciao on it. Bella Ciao is connected to the Italian partisans that fought against, there would be some attempt, like, oh, he has this like leftist book on his shelf, Rosa Luxemburg there. You got, oh, but he's got that Nestor Makhno bust on his desk. You know, you'd find something. But the fact that he kicked the car inherently makes him a leftist, in the same way that a bullet hitting a protester by the administration inherently makes them a domestic terrorist.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Pretti interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat, and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Pretti was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which concluded that Pretti was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street. Shortly after the altercation we filmed here on January 13th, federal agents drove away. Soon after that, we left the scene.
Okay, so there's a full watch through. We're gonna watch the start again because this is the area of importance that's getting the most attention. And then we'll talk about it as we see it. We'll just analyze everything that happens here. So you see Pretti spit in the direction of the car. Now I think at this point the door is closed because the car moves forward immediately after. It could be that the door closed and then he spat. It could be the door was closing and then he spat while the door was closing. But it looks like the door is closed, but you can't really see where the door is, so it's hard to say. But he spits at the car. That we know. At the car. If it was through the car door while it was closed, you can't really say from this angle. Spits at the car door, then kicks the car once beneath the headlight, like near the bottom bumper, then kicks it again at the headlight, smashing it, absolutely obliterating it. Gotta say, like, he really, like, bullseye, actually. Then the federal agent steps out, walks over to him, and this is what confuses me. They come out, they grab him, they drag him over, they pin him to the floor. I understand why they would do that if they were going to arrest him, but they do that, hold him there, and then just leave. They leave after deploying tear gas. You know, they deploy all the less than lethal munitions that have become very well known on the streets of Minneapolis, and then they let him go. Leaves with his jacket, leaves with his gun, leaves with his everything. And so the framing that we're going to see, I think largely with this video, is the framing that we saw from Nick Sorters, the framing that we saw Rob Noor repost, is the framing we're going to see probably more from the administration if they want to back up their retreat slightly, or maybe dig a trench somewhere, I guess, is going to be the idea that Alex Pretti, you mean the guy that spat at law enforcement? You mean the guy that assaulted law enforcement? Now, they're going to leave out the fact that when you say insulted law enforcement, you mean kicked a car. You don't mean he actually tried to hurt a human, right? Like he tried to punch somebody in the face, tried to make it so somebody might not go home to their family. If you hit them the wrong way, their head hits the pavement, you know, a fight can lead to a death. That happens. But no, it's going to be framed in that manner, saying that, you know, yes, he was killed by immigration officers, but at the end of the day, this guy was a violent leftist militant. Now, here's the questions that I'm left with. If this guy is a violent leftist militant, and let's say let's say that's all true. Let's say that every worst possible ideological descriptor that you could apply to this man is true. I don't really care. If that's what he's doing here, that doesn't mean that's what he was doing there. Mind you, we don't see any of the lead up to this video. We don't see what the ICE officers or CBP did before this interaction began. So there could have been something that we're not seeing that was done off screen that angered this man so much that he would kick the vehicle. I mean, this is the same man that put his hands up after that woman was shoved to the ground. He got pepper sprayed in the face and didn't, at least from all of the footage we've seen so far with the police body cam footage still not released by the administration, he didn't seem to throw any punch or blow at officers. So I don't know what happened to anger him so much that he would do this. Maybe it was just the moment. Maybe it was he watched a certain report before going out there. Maybe it was something that happened off screen, right? But if they can restrain this man then, and then let him go after, I guess, they identified him as a non-threat, evil, even with a gun. Mind you, again, when they release him, you can see his gun in this video in his waistband. Why did they have to shoot him the other time and not this time? Why did they have to shoot him earlier, just like a week ago? Not even. But they didn't have to here. They didn't even have to arrest him here. They just pushed him to the ground and then let him go with firearm and all. It doesn't make much sense to me. So, like, whether or not this shows him engaging in a way that, is uncouth, violent towards the car, violent towards a vehicle transporting law enforcement, in this instant, the officers behaved much more rationally within the bounds of law enforcement capacity. Like the fact that they didn't arrest him afterwards actually kind of blows me away. If he knocks out their tail light, what really was stopping them from arresting him? I guess they thought they had better things to do. They had more important priorities than arresting one dude over a broken tail light when they've probably taken quite a bit of vehicle damage over the last few weeks. But if that's the case here, why was it that when you had like 7 or 8 officers on him, that they had to open fire with 2 men opening fire, firing over 10 shots, hitting him with 11. Hitting him with 10 shots, firing over 10. It doesn't make sense to me. And so while I understand that the purpose of this video being shared around is going to be, look, this guy was a violent guy. He was a leftist. This doesn't prove he was a left. I have no clue if he was a leftist. Could be, could not be. I have no clue. That this guy was of a violent demeanor, and therefore now we can maybe more understand what those officers had to do, right? But again, he didn't behave this way in that other video, and he was treated with much more viciousness, not only in reference to the shooting, but the dude was also bashed with the pepper sprayed in the face, and then bashed with the pepper spray over the head, dragged to the floor. So it wasn't just that the shooting was a lot more than obviously he received here when he was literally let go, but the beating was, all of it was. Also, can I just throw out there, if he had a gun here and he actually engaged in a real strike against a police vehicle and they let him go, what does that say about the huge difference in the gulf in judgment between one officer's judgment and another officer's judgment? In this case, you had all these officers who didn't feel that they had to do that to him, at least that one officer did, until he smashed out his tail light, and then they let him go afterwards, while he had a firearm, didn't shoot him, but they brought him to the ground, right? They probably could have detained him and arrested him afterwards for smashing that tail light, but they let him go. They let him go. They didn't have to use lethal force. Hell, they didn't even use really excessive force, if you look at this interaction. And so this is one police interaction where you would think, compared to the 2 things that happened, it would be more likely, considering what initiated it, which was this man going to their vehicle, spitting, kicking. He's the one engaging in a physical altercation, if you will, with their vehicle. He's initiating that, even if we didn't see what initiated the entire event off camera. In the case of what led to his death, the officers came up and shoved that woman down. Then he got in between them, and then the rest was history. It was less this man going to them and pushing and shoving and hitting, and more him getting in front of them after they had shoved a woman to the floor. Now, maybe the shoving of the woman to the floor was, in their mind, part of their police duties, that he was interfering, that's obstruction. It certainly isn't brandishing. It certainly isn't assault. It certainly isn't domestic terrorism. It certainly isn't a massacre. But again, what initiates the interaction here is vastly different. The way the officers behaved here is vastly different. And so you have to conclude that either there is a massive gulf in experience, or in the way these officers are trained, or in the just filtration of new recruits. I have to know, because when you talked about the Renee Good shooting, they talked about the experience that guy had. How much experience did the people who shoot shot this guy had. Did they have a lot of experience? If they did, that's kind of concerning. Because if they didn't, then that might be an explanation. If they did, then that would be absolutely wild, considering that you can have vastly different outcomes when it comes to these police interactions. Dylan rocking back and forth, granny style. Got ADHD. It's kicking me up.